Alex had always known space was a vast, lonely place. As a deep space explorer, he spent years traveling from star system to star system, charting planets and scanning the empty void. He had seen many things: barren planets, hostile environments, and the haunting silence of the cosmos. But he had never expected to feel something so strange, a feeling of being watched, of being known in a place so far from Earth. The Odyssey glided quietly through the stars. The ship was a sleek and well-equipped vessel, designed for long missions, perfect for someone like Alex who preferred solitude. His mission was clear: explore, discover, and report. For years, his job had been nothing more than the hum of engines and the quiet buzz of his instruments. But everything changed the moment he intercepted the signal. It came to him suddenly. His communication panel lit up with a soft chime, a signal he had never encountered before. It wasn't the typical distress call he had received during his travels, nor was it any common signal. It had an ancient, almost melodic tone to it, as if the sound itself was alive. Alex felt an odd pull, a curiosity he couldn't explain. The transmission was faint, but it was directed straight to him at first. He thought it was just a glitch, maybe some random space interference. But the more he listened, the more it seemed intentional. There was something about the voice calm, commanding, and unmistakably human, yet not at the same time. Alex, I've found you, the one who has been chosen. Your journey has just begun. Alex's pulse quickened as he tried to make sense of the words. The signal wasn't from Earth, nor was it from any nearby civilization he was aware of. He had crossed into a system far from known space, a region mapped only by faint data from long-abandoned probes. He was alone, so who could possibly be speaking to him? Ignoring the initial spike of dread that crept up his spine, Alex leaned forward in his seat and activated the communications system. He tried to respond, but the transmission ended abruptly. Couldn't be a prank, ... could it? Alex muttered to himself. But no matter how he tried, he couldn't shake the feeling that the message wasn't random. Whoever or whatever had sent it, they knew his name, and they were waiting for him. He set a course for the signal's origin. The coordinates led him to a remote star system in the far reaches of the galaxy. Alex hesitated, staring at the star map. The system wasn't known for much. Just a few distant planets, and most were considered uninhabitable due to harsh climates. But something pulled at him. There was no turning back now. The Odyssey cut through the cold expanse of space as Alex piloted the ship toward the unknown. The closer he got to the source of the signal, the more he felt the weight of something ancient, something powerful that stirred deep within him. A strange feeling of anticipation filled the air inside the ship, and it wasn't just the ship's systems causing the hum. Hours later, Alex's ship descended through the atmosphere of a planet he had never seen before. The planet was shrouded in mist, and the surface was covered with strange, towering structures that looked like ancient ruins, yet somehow they seemed untouched by time. Alex's heart raced as he guided the ship lower, hoping for answers. The land below seemed deserted, as though it had been abandoned for millennia. Cracked stone roads twisted through overgrown fields, and the remnants of massive stone columns stood like silent sentinels. The air was thick with an unfamiliar energy. It was quiet, almost too quiet, and the ground felt solid beneath his feet. As he touched down, Alex hesitated before opening the airlock. The signal had led him here. There was no turning back now. He stepped out of the ship, his boots crunching on the gravel below. His breath came out in small clouds as he surveyed the landscape. The towering structures loomed in the distance, their sheer size making them seem both uninspiring and terrifying. He wasn't sure what he had expected, but this was different. From any planet he had visited before, there was something unsettlingly peaceful about it. He pulled up the coordinates and made his way toward the largest structure. It stood at the center of the city, an enormous pyramid-like structure with strange carvings on its surface. The carvings glowed faintly in the dim light, their meaning foreign to him, but the markings felt ... familiar somehow. Alex could sense it. Whatever this place was, it had been waiting for him. He ventured deeper into the ruins. Following a path that led into the heart of the structure, his steps echoed in the empty halls, the only sound being the rhythmic thud of his boots. The temperature seemed to drop as he moved further in, the walls around him closing in. The silence was oppressive, and a cold shiver ran down his spine as he reached the center of the chamber. And then he saw it. A massive stone pedestal stood before him, the same faint glow surrounding it. Atop it lay an object, a small, intricately carved box, its surface decorated with symbols he couldn't understand. As Alex approached, the air seemed to hum with energy. He reached out to touch it, but before his fingers made contact, the ground trembled. Alex stumbled backward, his heart racing as the temperature dropped even further. A low, resonating sound filled the chamber, vibrating the very walls. Someone was coming. He barely had time to react before the massive doors at the far end of the chamber burst open. A shadow moved toward him, long and imposing. A figure stepped into the dim light, its silhouette towering above him. The being was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. It was tall, far taller than any human, and its skin glowed with an ethereal radiance. Its face, regal and beautiful, was framed by an intricate crown of unknown materials, and its eyes gleamed with an intensity that made Alex's pulse quicken. The alien was breathtaking, but terrifying all the same. It spoke. Its voice was both alien and familiar, soothing and commanding all at once. "I have found you, human," the voice said softly, yet powerfully. "I have waited so long." Alex stood frozen, unsure of what to say. His mind raced as the creature, the being approached. It wasn't threatening, but the air around him crackled with power. The alien's presence was overwhelming, like an ancient force reawakening. "I am the queen of the Etheri," the being continued, its eyes piercing into his very soul. "And you are the one I have been searching for." Alex's mind spun. Queen Etheri. He had no idea what this creature was talking about. Yet deep inside he felt a strange connection, a pull he couldn't explain. "I've been searching the stars for you." "Alex," the queen continued, her voice almost a whisper now. "The prophecy... it speaks of you." She took a step forward, her gaze softening as she reached out a hand, as if to offer him something, or maybe to comfort him. "At long last, I have found you." Alex opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. His mind was a whirl of questions. What did she mean? A prophecy. Why him? But before he could ask, the queen's arms encircled him, drawing him into a hug. He stood there, stunned, caught in the embrace of the alien being. "I finally found you, human," she whispered. Alex stood motionless in the embrace of the alien queen. Her arms around him, the strange warmth of her touch sending shivers through his body. His mind raced with confusion, trying to make sense of everything that had just happened. The queen, the glowing city, the strange signal, it was all so much for him to absorb. He couldn't move at first, unsure of what to do, but he didn't feel threatened. Instead, he felt an odd sense of safety, as though the queen's presence was somehow calming him. Her voice, soft and gentle, whispered in his ear, though her words were still foreign, carrying a weight of meaning that Alex couldn't grasp. "You're the one," she repeated softly, her voice filled with something that Alex couldn't place. Was it joy, or was it something deeper? The prophecy. "It is true, you have come." Alex felt a sense of awe rising within him. The prophecy. He hadn't heard any mention of a prophecy, let alone one that involved him. He tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. How could he respond to something so unexpected? The queen pulled back slightly, her glowing eyes studying him with a mixture of fascination and reverence. Expression was regal, yet there was something vulnerable in the way she looked at him. Her gaze held an intensity that made Alex feel as though she could see into the deepest corners of his soul. "I don't understand," Alex managed to say, his voice low and hesitant. "What prophecy? Why me?" The queen's lips curled into a gentle smile, though there was a sadness behind her eyes, something ancient and weary. "The prophecy foretells that one human would come to us, one who would unite the broken pieces of my people, the one who would bring hope to a dying species." Alex blinked, trying to make sense of her words. He wasn't a hero. He was just an explorer, someone who had spent most of his life alone in the vast emptiness of space. Never asked for this. He had never dreamed of being part of something so grand. I'm not the one you're looking for, Alex said, shaking his head. I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a leader. I don't know how to unite anyone. The queen stepped back, her hand resting gently on the stone pedestal as she studied him. You may not know it yet, but you are. You have something that no other species in the galaxy has. Your kind. You humans are unique. You bring life wherever you go. You are survivors. Alex felt a strange sense of disbelief. He didn't know what the queen meant by all this. How could humans be so special? He had seen human civilization. He had seen all the flaws, the wars, the mistakes. How could they be the key to saving an entire species? Humans are strong, she continued, her voice growing more passionate. You have an incredible ability to adapt, to grow, to fight. You are not bound by the same limitations that we are. That is why you are the one the prophecy speaks of. The queen took a step closer, her presence growing even more intense. Alex could feel the weight of her words, but still the doubts gnawed at him. He had spent his entire life in the void of space, disconnected from the struggles of others. How could he be the one to help them? How could he be the one to save a species he knew nothing about? I don't know if I can do this, Alex said quietly. I don't know if I'm ready to be someone's savior. The queen smiled, a soft, understanding smile that only deepened the mystery of her. You do not have to be ready. The prophecy was not about you being ready. It was about you being chosen. I'm chosen by the stars, Alex. The journey you have started is not one you can turn away from. For a moment, the silence between them was heavy, filled with the weight of something too large to comprehend. The queen's words echoed in Alex's mind, but he could not shake the fear that gripped him. How could he, a simple human, help an entire species rebuild and unite? And why had it been him of all people to be chosen? Queen must have sensed his uncertainty because she took a step back, her regal demeanor softening. You will not be alone in this, she said gently. I will guide you, and others will follow. Alex looked at her, searching her face for any sign that she might be wrong, but there was none. She was certain, her eyes fixed on him with an unwavering trust. Alex didn't know whether to feel honored or overwhelmed. Why me? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Why would you think I can do something like this? The queen looked down for a moment, her eyes shadowed by something ancient and sorrowful. I have waited for you for so long, Alex. For centuries, my people have been scattered, broken by war. We are a dying race, and our enemies grow stronger every day. The prophecy. It is all that remains of hope. Her voice faltered slightly. As she spoke of her people, Alex felt a pang of guilt, knowing that his own species had been far from perfect, far from the image of strength the queen painted. His people had their own history of wars, conflicts, and struggles. What made them different? What made humans so special? Alex began, struggling to find the right words. How can I do anything to change that? The queen's gaze softened, and she stepped closer again. This time, she placed a hand on his arm, the touch warm and reassuring. You do not understand yet, Alex, but you will. The humans have something that we do not. You have the power to create unity, to build bridges where there were none. You have the power to heal, to bring different races together, to forge alliances that were once thought impossible. Alex wanted to believe her, but a part of him still hesitated. He didn't have the experience or the knowledge to help an alien race, let alone a queen. He had been content in his life, charting unknown worlds, staying away from conflicts. Now he was being asked to step into a role that seemed far beyond. His understanding? I'm not a leader, he said again, more firmly this time, almost as though he were trying to convince himself. I don't know anything about diplomacy or politics or anything that could help you. The queen's gaze never wavered. You are more than you think, Alex. You were chosen because of who you are, not because of what you think you can do. The stars have chosen you to lead. Her words were heavy, but they were also filled with a strange warmth. Alex felt a small spark of something deep inside, a sense of purpose he had never known before. Was it possible? Would he truly be the one to change things, to make a difference? Or was it just the weight of her words clouding his judgment? "I'll help," Alex finally said, his voice quiet but determined. "I'll help you, ... somehow." The Queen's smile deepened, and for the first time, Alex saw a glimpse of relief in her eyes. She was not just a powerful leader. She was a being who had carried the burden of her people's fate for far too long. And now, in him, she had placed her trust. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice full of gratitude. "You do not know how much this means to us." Alex nodded. But as the Queen turned to lead him deeper into the ruins, he couldn't shake the uncertainty that still lingered in his heart. He didn't know what lay ahead or how he was supposed to fulfill such a grand prophecy. But one thing was clear: he was no longer just an explorer. He was part of something much bigger than himself, a journey that would take him beyond the stars and into the heart of a dying race's survival. As they walked through the ancient ruins, Alex couldn't help but wonder what would come next, whether he was truly ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. Alex followed the Queen through the ancient city, still trying to come to terms with everything she had told him. The ruins were impressive, huge stone structures and towering columns that stretched toward the sky, their surfaces carved with symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint, otherworldly light. Despite the beauty of the place, there was a heavy air of sadness that clung to every stone, every corner, as though the city itself had once been full of life, but was now lost to time. The Queen moved with grace, her long robes flowing behind her like a shadow of the past. She had not said much since their conversation, and Alex couldn't help but wonder if she was waiting for him to ask more questions, or if she was lost in her own thoughts. They reached a large stone archway, where a massive door stood intricately, carved with the same glowing symbols Alex had seen before. The Queen placed her hand on the door, and it opened without a sound, revealing an expansive hall inside. The walls were lined with strange alien murals, their colors vibrant yet fading with age. In the center of the room stood a large round table, and around it were several thrones, empty for now. The Queen motioned for Alex to sit in one of the chairs, and he hesitated before doing so. As he lowered himself into the seat, he noticed the subtle hum of energy in the room, like the entire place was alive, holding its breath for something important to happen. "I've been waiting for this moment for a long time," the Queen finally spoke, her voice soft but filled with a deep, ancient sorrow. "The galaxy is a broken place, Alex. My people are scattered, living in hiding, unable to defend themselves. I have tried for centuries to bring them together, but I could not do it alone." She turned to face him, her eyes filled with a strange mixture of hope and regret. "Now, I believe the prophecy will be fulfilled, and you are the key to that. But the journey is not an easy one. You'll have to face challenges, doubts, and enemies. It is a path full of uncertainty." Alex nodded slowly. "I understand," he said quietly. He didn't, of course, not really. But what else could he say? The Queen was depending on him, and somehow he felt as though he couldn't back down. Even though every part of him screamed that he wasn't the right person for this. "You will need allies," the Queen continued, her tone firm now. "It's not just me. We must convince others that the galaxy needs unity, that we can no longer afford to fight among ourselves. It won't be easy. Many will resist. They will fear what we're trying to do." "Who will we approach first?" Alex asked, leaning forward in his chair. He wasn't sure how to start this kind of mission, but he knew that sitting in a room full of ancient alien artifacts wasn't going to help. He needed to get moving, to do something. The Queen walked over to a massive star map on the wall, her fingers brushing lightly over the holographic display. The map expanded, showing countless star systems, each marked with different symbols. Some were blinking, others still. "The Zurekar are our biggest threat," she said. "They are an aggressive, warlike species. We fought them for centuries. Their empire is expanding rapidly, and they will not hesitate to destroy anyone who stands in their way. If we cannot unite the galaxy against them, they will conquer it all. Zurekar. Alex repeated the name, committing it to memory. I've never heard of them. What are they like? A race of ruthless conquerors, the queen replied, her voice colder now. They believe in strength above all else, and they view other species as weak and inferior. They'll stop at nothing to expand their empire. We have been at war with them for centuries, but with our people scattered, we cannot fight them alone. That is why you and I must work together. The weight of her words settled heavily on Alex's shoulders. He had never thought much about galactic politics or war. His life had been about exploration, about charting stars and finding new worlds. But now, he was being pulled into a battle much bigger than himself. The stakes were higher than anything he had ever imagined. Do we stop them? Alex asked, his voice steady, though he couldn't help but wonder if he was asking the impossible. We start by finding allies, the queen said, turning back to face him. We will need to build a coalition, one that includes all the races of the galaxy, but it will not be easy. The Silterans are peaceful, but they fear the Zurekar and have withdrawn from galactic politics. The Tizars are fierce warriors, but they have been in a civil war for decades. And the Trek are elusive, not trusting easily. So we have to convince them to trust us, to work together against the Zurekar, Alex said, mind racing with the enormity of the task ahead. How do we even begin? The queen smiled, a slight, almost wistful expression. We begin by showing them that we have something worth fighting for. You are the key to that. Your species, humans, are unlike anything they have ever seen. You have the power to unite, to inspire. You just need to believe in yourself, Alex. Alex stared at her, unsure of what to say. The queen spoke with such certainty, such passion, but he couldn't help but wonder if she was putting too much faith in him. He wasn't a leader. He wasn't someone who could unite races, who could bring peace to a broken galaxy. But I'm not even sure what to say to them, Alex admitted. What if they don't listen? What if they think I'm just some guy they don't know? I'm not a diplomat or a general. I'm just a regular human. The queen's gaze softened, and she moved closer, her presence overwhelming in its beauty and power. You may not see it now, but you are more than just a regular human. You have something that none of these other species have, the ability to build connections, to bring people together. Your kind has faced adversity time and time again, and you have always overcome it. You are stronger than you realize. Alex wanted to believe her. He really did. But he couldn't shake the doubts swirling in his mind. How could he, someone who had spent most of his life alone in the stars, be the one to bring unity to a galaxy on the brink of war? The queen seemed to sense his unease. She stood in front of him, her eyes full of a quiet understanding. You will find your way, Alex. Trust in yourself. Trust that you were chosen for a reason. The prophecy did not choose someone by accident. You were meant to lead. She paused, her eyes lingering on him for a moment longer, and then she added, but we must act quickly. The Zurekar grows stronger every day, and if we wait too long, it may be too late.
Alex
Stood up, his hands clenched at his sides. He felt a sense of determination rising in his chest, something he hadn't felt before. It wasn't the certainty the queen had, but it was enough. He could see that this was bigger than himself, bigger than any doubts he had. If he didn't step up, if he didn't try, the galaxy would be lost to war. I'll do it, Alex said, his voice firm. I don't know how, but I'll help. I'll do whatever it takes. The queen's face brightened, and she reached out to touch his arm, her touch gentle but strong. I knew you would, Alex. You are the hope we have been waiting for. They stood there for a moment in silence, the weight of their mission hanging between them. The galaxy's future depended on their success. And though Alex wasn't sure he was the right person for this, he knew he couldn't walk away. It was time to begin. It was time to find the allies who would join them in the fight for survival. And it was time for Alex to discover just how much he could change the galaxy. The days following Alex's decision were filled with activity. The queen had shown him what little remained of her people's once great civilization. and she had begun teaching him everything she could about the galaxy's fractured political landscape. She didn't just want to guide him. She needed him to understand the intricacies of galactic diplomacy, the broken alliances, and the distrust that ran deep between many species. Alex had always been a practical person. He'd never been someone to talk about big ideas or grand schemes. But now he found himself sitting in the heart of an ancient alien city, trying to absorb knowledge that was as alien to him as the stars themselves. He was learning about the Zrekar, their tactics, their empire, and how the galaxy had been at war for so long. It was hard for him to grasp. For his entire life, space had been vast, open, and untouched by such conflicts. Now it seemed as though war was all the galaxy had known. The Queen, though an imposing figure, had been patient with him. She never pushed him too hard, but instead she let him learn at his own pace. Her knowledge of the galaxy was vast, and though her people had suffered so much, there was a fire in her, an unwavering belief that they could still prevail. One evening, as the twin moons of the planet rose over the ruins, the Queen turned. To Alex, her face serious but calm. "We must make our first move," she said. "There are races in the galaxy who have stayed neutral for too long. It is time to convince them that they must choose a side. Zrekar will not give us time to make alliances. It will strike at us before we are ready." Alex nodded slowly, trying to focus. "So who do we go to first?" "The Silterans," she replied. "They are a peaceful race, and they value harmony above all else. But their fear of the Zrekar has kept them isolated. We must prove to them that they cannot remain neutral forever." Alex had heard of the Silterans before. They were known throughout the galaxy for their peaceful nature. They had no standing army, no weapons of war, and they kept to themselves, away from the politics of the galaxy. But the Queen was right. The Zrekar would not leave them alone for long. If they wanted to survive, they would have to fight, whether they liked it or not. "How do we convince them?" Alex asked. "I mean, I don't know anything about convincing people to go to war." The Queen's eyes softened. "It is not about war, Alex. It is about survival. We must make them see that standing by and doing nothing will only make them vulnerable. But you must speak with them. You must help them understand that this is not just about us. It is about the future of all life in the galaxy." Her words were heavy with meaning. Alex felt the weight of them, the weight of the responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. He had never thought of himself as a leader, let alone someone capable of convincing an entire race to fight. But the Queen believed in him, and somewhere deep inside, Alex knew he had no choice but to try. The journey to Siltara took several days. The Queen and Alex traveled in silence for much of the time, the hum of the ship the only sound between. Then, Alex spent his time studying the Siltaran way of life, learning everything he could from the Queen about their culture, their history, and their values. The more he learned, the more he realized how different they were from humans. They were a peaceful people, but their philosophy was one of extreme non-interference. They believed that to fight was to destroy the harmony of the universe. When they finally arrived in Siltaran space, Alex felt a sense of awe. The planet was beautiful, the oceans that stretched to the horizon and lush forests that seemed to glow under the light of their sun. The people of Siltara lived in perfect harmony with nature, building their cities within the forests. Their structures made of organic materials that blended seamlessly with the environment. It was unlike any place Alex had ever seen peaceful. Serene and untouched by the chaos of war, the Queen's ship descended toward the planet's surface. Landing gently in a clearing surrounded by towering trees, the air was thick with the scent of flowers and the soft rustling of leaves. As Alex stepped out of the ship, he couldn't help but feel a sense of calm, though the weight of his mission still pressed heavily on his chest. The Siltaran representatives were waiting for them. They were humanoid, though their skin shimmered with a faint iridescence, as if their bodies were made of the very essence of the planet itself. They were tall and graceful, moving with a fluidity that made them seem almost otherworldly. At their leader, a woman named Talia, greeted the Queen with a formal bow, her eyes calm but filled with curiosity. "Welcome, Queen of the Athari," Talia said, her voice melodic and soothing. We did not expect you to visit us so soon. The Queen returned the bow, her expression serious. I did not come for a casual visit, Talia. I have come to ask for your help. Talia's gaze flickered to Alex, her eyes narrowing slightly. And who is this? She asked. This is Alex, the Queen said, her voice filled with quiet pride. He is the one we have been waiting for, the one who will help us unite the galaxy against the Zeraykar. Leah studied Alex for a moment, her eyes assessing. A human, she said, as though the word itself were foreign to her. We have heard of your kind, but we have never interacted with you directly. Why should we trust him? Why should we trust any of you? Alex's heart pounded in his chest. He had never felt so exposed, so vulnerable. But he couldn't back down now. He had to find the words to convince them. I don't expect you to trust me just because the Queen says I'm the one, Alex said, his voice steady, despite the uncertainty swirling in his mind. But I'm not here to ask for your trust. I'm here to tell you that if you don't act now, if you don't fight, the Zeraykar will come for you. They will destroy everything you hold dear, and you won't have the chance to remain neutral anymore. Talia looked at him, her expression unreadable. And you think you can convince us to fight? I think you don't have a choice? Alex said quietly, the galaxy is changing. The Zeraykar are growing stronger. You can't stay in your peaceful bubble forever. The war is coming for you whether you want it or not. There was a long pause, and Alex could feel the tension. In the air, finally, Talia spoke again, her voice calm but firm. You may be right, human, but this is not an easy decision for us. Do not fight lightly. We do not believe in violence. I understand that, Alex said. But what if fighting is the only way to protect your way of life? If you don't join us, the Zeraykar will destroy everything you've worked for. They will take everything from you, and you'll be left with nothing. Talia's gaze shifted to the Queen, who stood, silently, her expression unreadable. The Queen was letting Alex speak for them both, trusting him to make the case. Finally, Talia nodded slowly. We will consider your words, human, she said. But do not expect us to act in haste. This is a matter of great importance, and we must take time to reflect. Alex nodded, trying to hide the relief that washed over him. I understand. Thank you for considering it. The meeting ended shortly after, and the Queen and Alex were escorted back to their ship as they lifted. Off from Siltara, Alex leaned back in his seat, exhausted but determined. They'll consider it, the Queen said quietly. That is all we can ask for. Alex looked out at the stars, the vastness of space stretching before him. He had done what he could. Now all he could do was wait and hope that the Siltrans would choose to fight, to stand with them against the growing threat. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning. The journey had only just started, and the fate of the galaxy rested on their ability to unite. The journey to the next planet was quiet. The stars outside the window of the Odyssey were a blur of light as the ship moved through space, heading toward a new destination. Alex sat in the pilot's seat, staring out into the endless expanse. His mind kept returning to the Silterans. They had promised to consider his words, but he knew that the decision to fight was not an easy one for them. Peace had always been their way, and convincing them to change was no simple task. The Queen was in the back of the ship, studying ancient texts that detailed the history of her people. Alex could hear the soft rustle of pages turning, but he didn't disturb her. He understood. The pressure on her was immense. She was carrying the hopes of her entire species. And Alex, for all his doubts and fears, was now a key part of her plan. After several hours, the Queen finally stood and walked toward him, her presence filling the small cabin. You are quiet. Today, Alex, she said softly, her tone calm but with an edge of concern, You worry about the Silturans? Alex looked up at her, meeting her gaze. I don't know if they'll join us, he said honestly. They're peaceful. They don't want war. I'm just not sure we can convince them. The Queen smiled, though her eyes were serious. You did what you could. The rest is not in our hands. Cannot force them to fight. Can only show. Them that's standing by and doing nothing will leave them vulnerable to the Zrekar. Whether they choose to act or not is up to them. Alex sighed, leaning back in his chair. I just wish there was more I could do. This is bigger than anything I've ever dealt with. We're doing what you can, the Queen replied. Her voice steady, and that is enough. They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of the ship the only sound between them. Outside, the stars seemed to stretch on forever, endless and distant. Alex felt the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders, and the pressure was beginning to wear on him. He had agreed to this mission, but he had never imagined how much it would demand of him. Where to next? Alex asked, breaking the silence. The Tazarans, the Queen replied. They are a proud warrior race. They have fought many battles, but they are currently divided. Civil war has kept them from engaging in galactic matters. They will be difficult to reach, but they are warriors. They understand the importance of strength. We need them to join us. You think they'll listen? Alex asked, already knowing that the Queen's answer wouldn't be easy. Perhaps, she said slowly, but it will not be easy. We must show them that the Zrekar are not just another enemy to be defeated. They must understand that this is a war for the survival of the galaxy. Alex nodded, though he wasn't sure what kind of argument would sway a people who had spent so much of their history fighting among themselves. But he knew one thing for certain. If the Tazarans refused to help, the odds of defeating the Zrekar would be much slimmer. The journey to Tura took a few days, and as they approached the system, Alex's nerves began to tighten. The Tazarans were known for their fierce loyalty, but their civil war had fractured their unity. Would they even be willing to listen to someone like him? A human, no less. The Queen seemed unfazed by the challenge. She had been through far worse, she had told him, and she had survived. Her people had endured centuries of war, exile, and hardship. If anyone knew how to fight for survival, it was her. But Alex wasn't sure he had her resilience. He wasn't sure he had anything close to it. The Odyssey entered Tazaran's space. Alex began to prepare for what was sure to be a tense meeting. The Tazaran capital, a massive city built on the surface of a planet with a harsh, desert-like environment, came into view. The city's architecture was massive and intimidating, with spires reaching toward the sky, looking almost like weapons. In themselves, it was a place built for warriors, a place where power was respected above all else. As they landed, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The city was alive with movement. Starans walked the streets in their imposing armor, their eyes sharp and watchful. There was no softness here, no peace, just the cold and hard reality of survival. The Queen led Alex through the streets, her presence commanding attention. Despite the tension in the air, no one dared approach them. Zarans respected her, but she wasn't here as their queen, she was here as a leader seeking help. And the respect they gave her was the respect given to a warrior. They reached a large, open arena at the center of the city, where a group of Caesaran leaders were waiting for them. They were dressed in armor, their faces stern and serious. Alex felt small standing among them. These were the leaders of a warlike race, and he was just a human, someone who had no place in their world. But the Queen's presence was enough to command their attention. She spoke first, her voice steady and authoritative. "We come seeking an alliance," she said, her gaze sweeping over the group. "The Zrekar threaten us all. We cannot stand alone against them. We must unite or risk losing everything." Tall Tsaran, with dark eyes, stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "We have no need for alliances. We are strong. We have always fought our battles alone." "And that is why you are divided," the Queen replied, her tone sharp. A jeer. "People fight among themselves, and your strength is wasted. If you continue down this path, the Zrekar will wipe you out before you can even fight back.
Ow.
This is not just a war for one people. This is a war for all of us." Alex watched the Tazaran leader closely, trying to read his expression. There was something in his eyes, something that suggested he knew the queen was right. But pride kept him from admitting it. You speak of unity, but you do not understand the cost, the leader said, his voice low. We have fought for centuries, but we have always fought on our own terms. If we join you, we risk losing that independence. And that is something we cannot afford. Alex stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He hadn't planned on speaking, but something inside him urged him to try. If you fight alone, you'll lose, he said, his voice steady but firm. I've seen it happen before. I've seen what happens when people refuse to unite when they think they can handle everything on their own. The Zrekar won't give you that choice. They won't care about your pride. They'll take everything from you and you'll be left with nothing. There was a long silence, and the Tezeran leader seemed to consider Alex's words. Finally, he spoke, his voice quiet but full of resolve. We will not fight for someone else's cause. But if you can show us that this is worth fighting for, if you can prove that the Zrekar are truly the threat you say they are, then we will consider joining you. The queen nodded, her expression unchanged. We will show you, Saran. We'll show you that we are all in this together. If we do not act, then we will all fall. The Tezaran leader hesitated for a moment longer, then nodded slowly. We will watch. But know this, Queen. If you fail, we will have no part in this war. With that, the meeting ended. Alex exhaled, feeling the tension leave his shoulders, though it didn't disappear entirely. The Tezarans had not agreed to join them yet, but they had at least agreed to watch. It was a small victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. As they walked back to the ship, the queen turned to Alex. You did well, she said quietly. They may not have agreed to join us today, but they will watch, and when the time comes, they will make their choice. Alex nodded, feeling a strange sense of relief mixed with uncertainty. I hope you're right. The queen smiled faintly, her eyes distant. I have never been wrong about such things.